He opted out. Just don't know.
She's the one that moved.
I was told a long time ago.
I've got my booby trap.
There's one, every time I see it, he always leaves. They didn't have enough players.
Oh, yeah. Got tired.
Yeah, Fred's you gotta have 53. Don't hit 53. Don't hit 5. They can play, and they didn't have 53.
I was like, don't forget about those two.
I didn't know that after from my brother told me. I didn't know that after.
You guys signed up?
Oh, I haven't. Yeah, we're live.
We're set.
We are muted and live.
9370.
Yeah, you want to go ahead. Yeah.
Welcome, everyone. Call to order the regular city council meeting on this, the 15th day of September 2020 at 6 p.m. Let's all stand and I think Tommy Booth is going to lead us in the code, and Michael Searcy will lead us in the pledge. Okay, let's pray.
Oh, Heavenly Father, we thank you for life. Thank you for our wonderful country. Thank you for every breath that we take. Just help us to realize you're there, the rich blessings that you give us. Pray that you'll give us wisdom and vision, and as we carry out our opportunities that we have in serving you, pray that you'll continue to bless us, bless our country, help those that are hurt and sick and needing your special care. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Pursuant to the Open Meetings Act, we do have a quorum present. Everyone is here. We posted all the necessary documentation on the front and the rear of the bulletin boards outside of City Hall, and that also falls under the Open Meetings Act. All of that is in place. At this time, we'll let Letty's going to explain to us how to listen and speak if you want to dial in and get on the Zoom meeting.
So for citizen participation or comments on non-agenda or agenda items other than the public hearing on budget or tax rate, please note that Mayor will indicate once that has opened up for that time. You will have to utilize the webinar chat feature located at the right if you're with us on Zoom to let us know you'd like to speak. If joining by audio telephone, to raise your hand during this time to ask a question, press *9. To unmute yourself, please press *6. If any would like to participate, we'll promote you to a panelist so you have the opportunity to address council. You'll be asked to identify yourself by name and address, as well as what you'd like to speak on. And to ensure clear communication, please make sure any background noise is turned off.
Okay, thank you, lady. Now's the time for citizens' comments on non-agenda items. We'll follow those rules that we just have been stated there. And we'll wait about 35, 40 seconds and see if we have any call-ins, dial-ins. Okay? Clear? Okay. With none calling in, we'll move on to the next item. That would be citizens' comments on agenda items. The same rules will follow. If you need to call in on an agenda item, you can do that now. Give you about another 30, 35, 40 seconds. We'll see if we have one. Clear? Okay, with none calling in, we'll move on down to the presentation and announcements time. Have several things to talk about. I think, Jay, you had an item.
Yeah, a couple different things. One, we'll have another meeting next Tuesday on the 22nd. We'll do that one at noon at the Civic Center. And per our charter, for any ordinance adopted, we need to have 2 readings of the ordinance. So tonight will be the first reading of the budget ordinance and also the first reading of the tax rate ordinance. And then we'll do the second readings 1 week from today, but we'll do it at noon at a different time there, and we'll do it at the Civic Center in that in the reception room where we have a little more room, and so if anybody wants to come to that and speak there, so we'll do that. So that's basically just be a short meeting like we had a couple of weeks ago. We did a special call meeting, so just kind of put that on your calendar for next Tuesday, the 22nd at noon at the Civic Center, and I think. Mr. Search is bringing tacos or something.
All right.
We'll be there.
We'll take your 7 minutes. All right, so also tonight we have on the agenda here later on, as you noticed, a couple of public hearings, one for the budget and one for the tax rate as well. We did one last time, according to the statute. We're not going up in a tax rate, and we're not moving any new tax revenue. So no tax increase. So we should just have one public hearing there, but we had some technical difficulties last time, and we thought we'd forward the phone. We thought we had it fixed during the meeting, and then we learned after the fact it didn't work out because we had moved some phones and we had the wrong phone. So long story short, that's why it's back on the agenda tonight. So we got another opportunity for that public hearing and make sure that that everybody's voice is heard on that. So that's why that's back on there again. Yeah, then we'll have the first and second reading of the ordinance. Those are the main things I have. Cheryl, anything?
No.
Anything else on that? Okay.
Anything from council members? Okay. Okay. I have nothing, so we'll move right along. Consent agenda is the next item. Consent agenda items are considered to be routine in nature and may be acted upon in one motion. Any item requiring additional discussion may be withdrawn from the consent agenda by the mayor, a council member, or city manager and acted upon separately. Okay, let's drop down in the consent agenda. I'm going to move 3 items down to the regular session. Items number 3, 4, and 5. We will discuss those openly because some of those need some discussion and we need to pull those down. So we're going to approve the agenda, consent agenda with items number 1, 2, 6, and 7. Do I hear a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Okay. All opposed, like sign. Consent agenda stands approved at this time. We'll move on down to the council business, regular session. We'll start with that item number 3. Okay. That's consideration and possible action on the appointment of a head co-board member. Okay. And
This, so, let's pull that up. You guys have, the information in front of you. I don't know if we need Mr. Clary to, is he on? We can sure promote him up and let him speak here on that.
He's promoting now.
Okay. You see that? See that? All that is this. What about this? There's nothing there. No, there's nothing there either. Oh, okay. What you're seeing there is the same thing you're seeing here, so. Easy. See it?
you're live.
Lot of nothing. John on?
He's connecting the audio now.
Okay.
John, will you unmute yourself?
On y'all?
There you go.
Okay, I'm back.
Go ahead, we'll let you make a recommendation.
We found out about this gentleman, Ben Welch, from Jay. And Jay and I had a meeting with him, and then we brought him in, and he actually has attended our board meeting. He has shared a number of titles down at Texas A&M University, and he's retired to Henderson. And he said that he and his wife visited here, and they felt like Henderson feels like home, which is a theme that we've been using in a whole lot. And we think he'll bring a lot to our board. We also understand that the county commissioners are planning to appoint him to the the Rusk County Railroad Commission. And so he'll be on the RCRRD board if that follows according to what we understand. So we like this appointment, and the mayor's met with him as well. So we're recommending him, and I think he'll be a great board member.
Would you like to tell us his name?
Ben Welch.
A little bit of background.
So we'll actually have 2 Welches on our board. We'll have Noble Welch and Ben Welch.
Okay. Well, we appreciate that. Council and the staff, there's also several of us that met him and talked to him. And we recommend him. So we'll ask for a motion at this time to approve that. Yes, sir. Tommy, moved it. Got a second? Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Okay, all opposed, like sign. Okay, item number 3 stands approved. We'll move to item number 4 on the agenda. That's consideration and possible action on reappointment of 3 board of adjustment members whose terms expire September 1st, 2020. Billy, step forward, please. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
Council. We do have 3 members of our board of adjustments that are 4 actually, that are up for reappointment. 3 have volunteered to stay on the board, and 1, Mr. Bob Allen, has asked that he retire off the board and be replaced. The members that are up for re-nomination or reappointment would be Kenneth Orr, Alton Pryor, and Freddie Polk for reappointment, and then we would need to fill the vacancy with, another member. And we have, submitted applications from, 4 different citizens, that are also alumni of the, Leadership Henderson classes that the Chamber of Commerce hosts. I believe all 4 are great, would be great members for this board, and I will leave that decision to council to make.
Okay.
This would be for Mr. Allen's alternate position on the
For
board
his
of
alternate
adjustment, is that
position.
correct?
That is correct. So we might have to, 2 motions to reappoint the 3, and then,
No, I think you can do it all in one, just name all 4. Yeah, the reappointment of the 3 and then,
Select one.
selecting one of those applicants to fill Mr. Allen's spot, so.
You want to do that now?
yes, sir, we
Okay.
have the reappointment of the 3, and then council name the 4.
Okay. You read those applications off.
I can read the names. We have Brian Fisher, who works for Henderson Federal Savings and Loan. Yulia Elizondo, she works for Texas Bank. Gary Wilson, I think everybody knows him, he's a Coldwell banker. And Jose Reyes, he's with Texas Bank as well.
I don't think that's Jose, I think it's Jesus.
Jesus.
Right, it's printed Jose, but it,
Okay.
his deal says it.
Yeah, I
All
think
right,
it is.
all right, that's all right.
Okay. With that being said, the council is gonna have feelings about this. Would you like to nominate one of those?
I have a question regarding the public access option form. 2 of them said no, and 2 of them said yes. Can you explain exactly what it is they're saying yes or no to?
Whether or not their contact information is published, I believe is what that's for.
So phone number and email address?
That would, it would not go out on the public portal, without their permission.
Is that out there on all the others?
I couldn't tell you that, sir, I don't know. I've never looked for their information.
I don't know if their information's on it.
Their names are out there, but as far as a contact or email address, there is not. You would have to go through the Community Development Department, which is over the Canyons of New York, or with adjustments.
So it's not important whether they say yes or
I don't think so.
no. How important is it they live in the city limits?
Well, we've got, I know for sure one member that has been on the board for quite some time, Cecilia Cook, that lives way outside of the city limits, yet her business is in town, Century 21. And she has served faithfully on the board and is a very vital member of that board.
This board?
The Board of Adjustments, and she serves on our board.
All questions I have.
You have any recommendation? You're probably familiar with all these individuals.
I do know all of them, and they're all good.
Yep, they are.
I put yes next to 2 and no next to 2, and that was based on what they put back here, the yes and no, and whether they're in the city limits or not. So I had yes next to Yuli and Jesus, no next to Gary and Brian. But you pretty much said that neither one of those are all that important, whether they live in the city or not.
I don't know, as long as they do their business, they have their businesses here and work in the city and in the county both, so. I don't think that has any bearing on it, sir.
They work in town. Everybody's they're here.
A lot of these people have served on other boards.
Yes,
And
that
the
is-
county
that is
and
correct.
with the city.
That is correct.
These 4?
Yes, well, all but Yuli, she's
Yeah, she's new.
new.
Yeah.
She's just a 2020 graduate of the Henderson Leadership Group.
Melissa, do you have any? This, or-
Don't really have a preference.
Okay.
I least know who they are. I may not know all of them personally, but I know who they are. I kind of want to tend to lean toward Muley myself, just because, you know, get somebody in there that's not on, you know,
Right. Some
a fresh face maybe.
fresh, right, understand.
I could go with that.
I'll tend to, myself, I can't vote, but I'll tend to agree with that. That's a very good selection there, I think, for what you're saying. Henry, do you know any of these folks?
Yeah, I know, Reyes,
Okay, okay.
and I imagine, I know all of them.
Yeah,
Just
okay, yeah, right,
get the face
right.
right now.
You have any specifics or selection or something?
Not, no specific.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tommy, do you know these folks? Yeah. Yeah, you probably know. Okay, so, can we maybe have a selection here and make a motion to select one of these individuals? In open vote?
I'm gonna vote for you, Lee. I motion for you, Lee.
Second. There's two.
Was that the motion?
No, not yet. Does anyone else's name come up besides her? Okay, that being said, we do have a motion and we do have a second. All in favor, please say, raise your right hand. All right, all opposed, like sign. Okay, you've got it, Ken.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And that was just for that one position,
Right.
or was that motion for the reappointment of the other three as well?
Oh,
plus
yeah.
the addition.
Yeah,
I'll
you make some amendment.
reappointment for those three, and then the appointment for the alternate.
That'll cover it all. Okay.
You still good with the second there? Okay. Just want to make sure, I want to clarify that.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
You cleaned it up.
Hey, thank you, Mr.
Okay. Item number 4 stands approved at this time. Thank you, Billy. Item number 5, consideration and possible action upon the 2020-2021 holiday calendar. Cheryl, would you like to?
Yes, on President's Day, the February the 15th, that is actually the day that we would have off. I had put the Friday before, but it would fall to that Monday. It's the Monday that it's actually on. So that correction has already been made to our calendar if you approve this to be able to be sent out.
Have a motion to approve.
I move with the calendar.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor, please raise your right hand. All right. All opposed, like sign. Item number 5 stands approved. Now we'll move down to item number 8 on the agenda. That's consideration and possible action on the TML risk pool ballot.
Okay, so this happens every year, the TML risk pool, there's, you have every 6 years, is what I said. We have different places available there for that representation across the state, and so there's 4 places there. You know, we know and work with a lot of them in the TML risk pool board. Of course, mayor is on this ballot as well. I think it's important for me to make sure that I make that recommendation. The mayor is probably on this board, and I say that board because we don't have any other East Texas representation on any of these names. It's the Mayor Fuller's the only one here in East Texas on that board, so that is important. But my recommendation would be to take and reappoint all those incumbents. Place 1 would be Robert T. Herrera. Place 2 would be John W. Buzz Pullen. Place 3 would be Jeffrey Snyder, and place 4 would be Robert Hawk. Those would be my recommendations based off of the work that they've been doing and the communication I've had with those candidates and with TML as well. So we normally do not have an opponent in this particular election, but several of our members have drawn opponents, and
consequently, you know, we have to go through the voting process just like any other voting process. So a notice was sent out to a lot of folks in the state. A lot of your municipal water utility supplies have boards, and we insure them, the cities, the economic development corporations throughout the state, they all get a vote. So a lot of votes went out. So hopefully, you know, we'll kind of remain consistent, stay the same, and we can continue on with the process. Of course, we haven't met live, you know, naturally since March, but we're still doing the same thing. We expect to meet probably maybe into April of 2021, and then maybe we can go back live. So, really a good process. We find out a lot of things, things, the needs of cities, and we can pass that on. I can pass that on to our city. It's just kind of a general help thing. It creates good relationships and things like that. So, okay, with that being said, I hear a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor, please raise your right hand. All opposed, like sign. Okay, item number 8 stands approved. Item number 9 on the agenda. It's 6:25, Sheriff. We're going to open a public hearing to receive citizen input on the proposed budget for fiscal year 2020-2021. So with that hearing being open, we have one citizen that is here, Mr. Brian Ballard, and he would like to talk to us about something. So just step right on up, Mr. Ballard.
And we're gonna also let Lady do her piece.
Right,
as well.
yeah. Let you go and step up and let her go and do her piece. Anybody that wants to call in can call in, but she'll tell about that.
So again, at this time, if you are joining with us on Zoom and would like to participate in this public hearing, please let us know via the webinar chat on the right. If you're joining us by audio only, you'll want to press *9 to raise your hand and *6 to unmute.
Okay, Mr. Ballard, you got the floor.
Thank you all for letting me be here. My initial thought was it would be better to be here in person, but now that I'm standing here looking at you guys and girls, I think I would have rather called in. I told my wife that I was coming, she rolled her eyes. Oh, Lord. She said, be careful what you say. She reminded me of an experience I recently had at a local grocery store. I don't have any complaints about the budget. I've gone over the budget, and usually I would think you would expect comments about why are you spending this on that. I don't have any comments about what you're spending. I think it was a pretty solid budget deal. I had two things on my mind. One is I had a lot of trouble figuring out this year's budget compared to not this year's budget and tax rate compared to last year's. If I went back and looked at last year's budget, it had a pretty slick summary page that showed property tax rate from the year before compared it to the new one. There's not one in this year's budget that's online. So until tonight, I've never heard that the tax rate, proposed tax rate, isn't going to change. I didn't know that. I couldn't find it anywhere. Even in the notice that's published in the newspaper, those columns that allow you to show that type of information, was all that blank. So didn't know how the tax rates compared year to year. So thank you for clearing that up.
Yes, sir. And I will say that page you're looking at, I believe, is going to be in once we adopt the budget.
Yeah.
That's where that page comes in officially. So we probably need, it's not in the proposed piece. That's something we need to.
It would really be handy to be able to know. I mean, clearly, my interest is my tax rate going up or down. How do you find that out? I I had a lot of trouble, but I got that cleared up. My comments are really about the revenue aspects that are in the budget. And as it relates to COVID-19, I think there's a bunch of revenue streams that are affected by COVID-19. And I'm concerned that maybe that wasn't the COVID-19 situation with the slowdown in the economy and the quarantine that we've been through, may continue to be through, is going to affect your estimates of revenue that's generated in this budget. Sales tax is one, you're projecting an increase in sales tax revenue. How sure are you of that? And of course, HEDCO sales tax is another line item that's there, follows the sales tax. Mixed drink tax, it shows to go up. All the bars are closed, so I'm not sure how that's going to increase 50%. There's a line item in there that I really just didn't understand, but it's called sales tax for ad valorem tax, and I don't know what that is. But your revenue projection went up $100,000. And looking at the proposed budget, those are the items that are on that page 2 of your budget, which is just a general fund revenue. Move over to the, and this isn't necessarily a part of your general fund budget, but on water and sewer, projecting a $491,000 increase in water charges and a $303,000 increase in sewer charges. My question there is that based on your expectation that we're going to consume and dispose of more water next year? Or is my rate going to go up? And if it's going to go up, how much? Food for thought. There's no way to know. And I don't know how you project rainfall and all that. That's almost a $900,000 revenue increase in water department. It's either got to come from higher rates or more use. And it's just a concern. I think my rates are pretty high already. I use a lot of water. And it's a big deal. On page 48 of the Tourism Civic Center revenues, again, these are COVID-related questions. When you talk about hotel motel occupancy tax, really calling, projecting that to be flat to the last year's budget. Civic Center rental fees, projecting it to be flat to last year's budget. And Syrup Festival income projected to be flat to last year's budget. Syrup Festival has been canceled, so I know it's not going to be flat. So that's $50,000 of revenue that you're not going to get. I can tell you that right now. But it's in the Tourism Civic Center revenue deal. And then, of course, it's a small item, but Christmas parade. You got some revenue projected from the Christmas parade. We don't know whether we're going to have it or not. But we do know we're not going to have it, the Syrup Festival. But as it relates to hotel motel occupancy tax, my understanding of what we're seeing year to date is we're way down in collections on that. Until everybody came up to the hurricane, I think the hotels were pretty empty. So to project it as flat compared to last year, I think that's a concern. Just leave it at that. And Civic Center rental fees, again, I think COVID has affected that. I expect it will continue to affect that. And to say it's going to be flat compared to the revenue, you expect the same revenue as what you budgeted last year. When your actuals aren't anywhere close to what was budgeted last year. And I guess that's it. concerns about just the revenue projections. Because if you base everything off what you think you're gonna make, you're gonna be short something. And, I just raised those questions. I'll sit down. Thank you for giving me the opportunity for raising that.
We appreciate your concern.
You bet.
Okay, Council, do you have any questions for Mr. Ballard? Anything like that? Further, or do we have anybody on the screen here wanting to dial in, ask a question or something? Okay. All right.
So, does somebody want to explain to Mr. Ballard the one item that he did not understand? It went up $100,000.
The sales tax for ad valorem. So that was, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Karen, my understanding is that there was an election years ago, several years ago, I don't know if I said years ago, I don't know how long ago it was, before you were here.
Yeah.
So an election was done years ago, that voters adopted, how much, what's the percentage on that? Is that
Yeah, there's a 50%
Yeah.
sales tax, and then 25% goes to head code, and the other 25% is in the line item.
Okay, so 20, a quarter of a percent of sales tax, so to raise the sales tax rate a quarter of a percent locally, and that to help offset and to add the wall taxes, the property taxes, to help push those and keep those down. Is that basically right? So it was an election that was done, several years back. It was just to add a quarter percent of sales tax.
So again, it's based on projected sales tax revenue.
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay.
It's just like all the other sales tax that you mentioned first.
Okay.
Based off of that, yeah. Completely off of that. I'm not sure what year that was, that election, but that's what that is. So, yeah, it's been a little bit.
So is that something we need to keep in place, alter, bring it up to date, or?
The ad valorem piece?
Yeah, I mean, is that?
No, I mean, it's just purchase. No, it does serve, I think it serves a purpose, and without that, you're gonna have to grab it for property taxes, and property tax rate goes up. That was the whole idea, is that you're basically buying down the property tax rate a little bit locally by adding that extra quarter percent that nobody was collecting, in the first place here, but you had a quarter percent. You go up to, we have 2% that we can use. The state's gonna be 6.25. You have 2 cents that we can use. We can go up to 8.25. And at some point it was only 8. And so, the city, we're going through the election process, I guess, I mean, it went to the ballot on to the voters, and then they voted yes to go ahead and increase our sales tax that quarter percent to help offset property taxes. So now we're at that 8.25%, which is what pretty much everybody's currently, 8.25% is that sales tax rate,
Well, it's a confusing, the wording was confusing. Call it a sales tax on ad valorem tax. Didn't make any sense to me.
Right. You gotta be a finance director to understand that.
I got it, yeah.
I had to do it language too. Yeah, that's what it is.
Okay, thank you.
And as far as the surf festival,
Yes,
the revenue,
yes,
not having the revenue, so therefore we're not having the expenses.
exactly. I mean, they're kind of gonna be tied together, so you're not gonna have expenses, so the revenue's not gonna be used, either. It's in the budget on both sides, and so it's kind of a wash basically for us, on that piece. Of course, we're hoping that maybe something will happen downtown with the, event that they're doing on November 6th, 7th, 8th, we'll open house, to start the Christmas season off a little bit better, so we're hoping we'll get some benefit from that downtown businesses especially, for sure, but there's not a lot of expenditure necessarily involved for us, and the revenue's gonna be indirect for us, sales tax or whatever, on that piece, so.
Is there any comment or any clarification on the water and sewer?
Yes, sir.
Revenue?
Yes, sir. So ultimately, there's a proposed increase. We're looking at the rates we're looking at the whole structure of the rates, and then that will probably be ready to come back to council in the October meeting. So we're doing some more legwork on that in the interim, and, you know, looking at what it costs us to produce a gallon of water or treat a gallon of water, and that whole gamut of all of that, and then put in where we feel like where that true price needs to be, and for right now we don't have a lot of tiers. You know how the water rate structure is. I think it's 2,000 gallons, and then 2 to 12, and anything over 12 is something else. And also on the commercial, we don't have commercial rates. Commercial pays the same thing as residential does, and I think for-profit businesses, there needs to be something different there. So we're looking at that whole structure and maybe adding some terms. Those that use a lot of water, that do some different things, if there's a bare minimum, there's not a lot of increase there for them. There's a lot of water use, there could be an increase because, you know, there's usage there. So we're looking at a whole different structure. So that'll be probably ready for the full, that'll be part of our, what do we call it, master fee schedule. Thank you, yes. So that'll be up for adoption. I'm thinking we should hopefully have all that together for next month's meeting. But we still have a little work to do on that and to, you know, once that done.
But in order to project revenue, you gotta have some number in mind.
Right.
You gotta base that revenue projection on something.
Right.
And my question really was, is that increased usage or increased rates?
I think it's gonna be some of both. I think it's a mixture of both. It's mostly probably gonna be more on the rate side, especially with commercial.
And we can't say yet what the rate will be in October.
Right. But we'll know, we should know before that when we were looking at it. And I will be able to share that information out. We wanna make sure we're educating everybody on what that is. That's not it could be there's several different tiers instead of just that one big range there. But I'll be able to share more with you as we move forward on it. For sure. But we need to we still have some preliminary things we need to run through on our utility side with our utility director and others to see if this piece fits. So that's based off of where we think we will end up roughly. It is a projection, and you never know what the weather patterns look like with everything else too. So there's another question that I was trying to remember. Hotel motel tax. Yeah, I mean it's another one that is if you were trying to do some things from the tourism side, especially related to sports, and we had the baseball tournaments out there. That was good. We can do some more of those type of things to generate some people staying. That would, that will help. We see people travel a little bit worn out on that. But again, all these revenues, we do the best we can. Sometimes, 16 and 18 months out forecasting some of this. If we have to do amendments along the way, we watch our expenditures along the way to make sure we don't go over some things there. If we see revenues going a different direction. We can make those adjustments. So.
And I guess my comment particularly about hotel motel tax was, we're seeing the direction that's taken. It's gone, it's lower than the current budget had projected, but it's tracking along. You won't collect as much as what you had budgeted. So how, I guess my concern is seeing it trending down, how can you project it to go up? I mean, it just doesn't compute with me in light of what we know about people traveling, people gathering, people doing things. It just doesn't compute.
Well, if you like my wife, the bus doesn't seem to go somewhere. So we're hoping that somebody else wants to do that in Henderson, Texas, and it's our job and a lot of others to try to make sure we try to get them here. If that starts failing and it's not working, we have the ability not to spend some of these expenses for sure. Yeah, it was great. I mean, all your questions are right on target. The projection piece is what's very difficult. That's why we have to monitor it every month to see where we are and what's going on. We're up $300,000 in sales tax this year, right now. We got a neighbor just north of us, 10 minutes, that's down, I don't know, pushing $1.5 million. So you never know, community to community, it's a little bit different, and we do our best to try to project what we're seeing here, what the economic development piece looks like for us here. Mixed drink tax, not a lot of money, but we don't really have bars here. They're all still open. And so, we have some that's restaurants, it's just a few restaurants that we have, and we just open up a new one. And they stay really busy, especially on karaoke night. So, yeah, it's combos. Yeah. So especially on karaoke night, you might, they get a little crazy. But, so we're seeing some different permits and things happen that pushes that number a little bit, I think, so.
Well, that's a little big number.
It is, it's not a really big number. One of these days it might be big. So, we'll see. But thank you, I think if we
But
put
a $900,000 increase in water/sewer revenue, that's big, to me, that's becoming a big number. Yeah, that one concerns me as much as anything.
well, and I understand that it looks like it's a big increase. It's roughly about a 15% number, is what that is. The water and sewer fund's been running in the red, and we body up the reserve because we're too far off. It's not about expenditures necessarily; it's about cost of doing business. And so we've got a lot of surveys of cities of our similar population or someone around us, and all those different things. And that's one piece of information you go off of. It's good, but at the same time, everybody's system's a little bit different, and some may be only well water, some may be only surface water. Depending on where you get it from, we're pretty diverse on ours, thank goodness. But there's a cost to, generate that stuff, and you know how that works. But we've been running it in the red for a while. Our rates have not gone up slowly over the years as they should have with the cost of doing business. And so, unfortunately, what happens is you got to play catch up at some point, and that's kind of where we are. And but that's exactly where we are. It's not kind of where we are. It's exactly where we are. That water sewer fund needs to be an enterprise fund. Needs to run like a separate business. It doesn't have anything to do with just tax money or general fund. It's a utility. And if it was a utility running by itself right now, you'd be in jeopardy of going bankrupt, going out of business. And so we've got to do something different on the business side there to fix that. And so we're trying to get with the different commercial side of water, commercial side of sewer, and some different pieces there. We can help shore that up where the residential side won't have to take as big of a chunk on it. So an increase in what you're talking about for the average user, and again, there's a lot of rates, and we're kind of looking at some different things. I don't want to go too much in the weeds, but it's important because it's a good question. 5,000 gallons used average right now. What we're looking at on that bill. I don't have this with me. I've got it on my desk, so we can sit down and chat about it here later on too. The projected increase is probably going to be about $8 per month for 5,000 gallon user. That's about our average across town especially for residential. A lot less than that. That's a water bill. Well, not super size. So 8,000 gallons, it's about $10 increase per month. But again, the minimum user is not near that. It's maybe $2 or $3 a month, and that's the one we don't want. Minimum user is not trying to hit those folks in that type of budget. They're not the ones using the water. People like me that water my grass and try to keep it green to catch up with the neighbors. You're welcome.
I thought you got free water.
Right.
His water rates are higher.
Good. Yeah, so but people like me that spraying it out there on the ground need to be paying more for it. Quite honestly, that's the ones that are using it for their cooking and their cleaning, and the new users, those are the ones we're not trying to get with that. So that's where the different structures come into play. But I think increasing the commercial side of it's going to have a big change in what that revenue looks like. So we can look at that structure. I'll keep you posted on what on that. You bet.
I'll just add too, we're also trying to build up a fund for when things break, because in water, sewer, when stuff breaks, it's expensive. And so, you know.
Just like any other business, you have that kind of, you know, gotta keep that piece going. You're not trying to make a bunch of money on it, you just wanna make sure you're,
Be prepared.
yes, keep the thing going.
Okay, any more discussion at this point? Okay, Cheryl, it's 6:49 PM. I will close this part of the public hearing and move on to item number 9, and that's going to be at 6:50, we'll call it. Open a public hearing to receive citizen input on the proposed budget.
That's the one we just.
No, I'm sorry.
Number 2.
Tax rate. Here we go. Tax rate. Open the public hearing to receive citizen input. 2020 tax rate. At 6:50. Tax rate.
Tax rate.
You answered my question.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, Cheryl.
And
And
then go ahead and give your instructions real quick again. Somebody might have forgot to run it.
time to tell.
If you're joining us via Zoom, please utilize the webinar chat feature to the right and let us know that you'd like to participate. At that point, we will promote you so that you can address council. If you are dialing in by audio only, please raise your hand utilizing *9. To unmute yourself, *6.
Yeah, so as we mentioned earlier, the tax rate is gonna stay dead even as it was, last year, at 0.5517. The appraised values in the city, total appraised values came in pretty much dead even flat, just a hair under. I think there's about $30,000 in revenue that was generated lower than where we were, so there's no tax increase on the revenue or the rate, for us. As you know, in the budget, we did not, add any salary increases to our people this year. Just didn't feel like it was the right time to do that with anything that was looking going on around us as well. So the rate, you know, rate will stay the same. That's what's in the, that's what the budget is off of. And that, again, property tax revenue is pretty much dead flat. Just a hair lower than last year on what will be coming in on that same rate.
And I think healthcare insurance had a big chunk saved in that.
We did, but, you know, the healthcare, we're moving to TML. Insurance is about a 10% decrease in our premiums, as we talked about, starting that budget workshop a little bit, which is a big number for us, big help to be able to do some other things there. Like adding some other, staffing that we're talking about 6 months down the road with some, the parks piece in recreation, that whole area that's not staffed right now. So we're working toward being able to do that. And that helps for sure when the insurance premium goes down. Just in this day and age, insurance going down, that's, you don't do that very often. So that's a good thing, you know. Good coverage for our folks.
Another quick note here, our tax rate, we didn't have a tax rate for 13 years. Previous to last year, we had to go up just slightly. So this is a trend that we can do, and this is a trend that we will stay with for a while. We'll be with this tax rate for a while. So it's not that we go up every other year or every year or something like that. It's just every so often we do have to make a slight move in the tax rate. Like I say, 13 years prior to last year. So we'll try to hold this down as much as possible. We have a good steady influx here, so that's why our tax rate kind of remains kind of constant. Everything looks, projections look real good, so just want to throw that in. Is that right, Karen? Okay. Anybody? You got anybody signed up? Okay. Okay. With no one calling in or signing up here, we will, at this point in time at 6:53, Cheryl, we're going to close this public hearing also. Okay, let's move on to item number 11. Consideration and possible action upon the first reading of ordinance number 2020-09-46, adopting the 2020-2021 fiscal year budget. Adopting, okay?
anything else, we have to adopt our budget by ordinance. Same thing with the tax rate, according to the charter. We have to do 2 readings of that, so this is the first reading and adoption for the adoption of the ordinance, so you guys can approve that, and then we'll follow back, if that's what you're gonna do, then we'll follow back up next Tuesday at noon with that second reading and vote to approve to adopt the budget. So this is the one we're on now, and the next item will be the same thing, basically for the tax rate.
Right, I heard a motion from Tommy, do I hear a second, please? Motion has been made and seconded, all in favor, please raise your right hand. All right, like sign opposed, all right, item number 11 stands approved. Okay, let's move to item number 12 on the agenda, that's consideration and possible action upon the first reading of an ordinance 2020-09-47, levying an ad valorem tax of 55 and 17/100 based on 100% appraised value of all real and personal property for tax year 2020. Okay.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor, please raise your right hand. All opposed, like sign. Item number 12 stands approved. Item number 13 is consideration and possible action upon accepting the certification of unopposed candidates in ordinance number 2020-09-48, canceling the November 3rd, 2020 election and declaring the unopposed candidates elected to office. Okay.
We have no candidates, all the incumbents filed and signed up, which was Councilmember for District 2, Michael Searcy, Councilmember for District 3, Henry Case, and Mayor, and John Pullen as mayor. So, we're able to cancel the election and save those funds and not have to, and maybe utilize those elsewhere in our budget.
By doing so, we save $6,000. Thank you very much. Okay. I hear a motion.
Motion approved.
She got first.
Okay, we have a motion and another motion and a second. So we got a motion and a second. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Thank you. All opposed, like sign. Item number 13 stands approved. Item number 14 is the consideration and possible action on a 1-year extension of the bank depository services. Karen, you want to tell us why we're doing the extension?
Yes,
Stay 6 feet away.
Okay, you know.
I'm trying not to spit.
Or spit.
Let's see. Our depository contract, ends September 30th, 2020. So we had the option to extend it for a year. So we're gonna go ahead and exercise that option, with VeriBank for 1 year. And as been pointed out, with COVID, we just don't know. And yes, rates are definitely dropping. So you can see there the new rate with this extension that they are giving us. And then we'll just see how it is next year. I'm going to be optimistic and say it's going to be doing better. The rates will be hopefully back up, and then we'll just go out for a proposal and see what we can get for, after this. But that's what this is, just extending the bank depository contract for 1 year with VeriBank.
Okay. Any questions for Karen? Do I hear a motion?
I move we extend the contract. Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor, please raise your right hand. All opposed, like sign. Item number 14 stands approved. Thank you, Karen. Item number 15 is consideration and possible action upon an interlocal agreement with Headco relocating to 500 West Main. Okay? They're moving next door, in case you don't know that. this time. And, it's a good move, it's really good move. Jay, you want?
Yeah, we talked about this last time, and this is the actual agreement as we promised we'd come back to you this time with the writing. They are over there, been remodeling for the last several days, for the last week or so, moving really fast already. Start the process here, so pretty short and sweet. As we said, the city is providing all the labor, materials, and renovation of that building, but HECO's going to reimburse that up to $22,000. We believe it will be below that. So HECO will basically be remodeling the building that will house not only them. Remember, we're going to move from the community center. We're going to move Meals on Wheels and move them into here. They're excited about that as well. And then Experience Works. They will have one office there as well at the community center currently, and be moving into that same office. So HECO will be taking on the remodel of that building, and then we'll be basically it'll be a city-owned building, continue to be a city-owned building, be on our insurance and the utilities, and we'll continue to pay that. They'll still be on our same phone system, using our same server, the same things that they have been basically there. Just we'll move them across the parking lot. John said they got evicted, but we don't,
Yeah, we got voted out.
It's crazy talk, crazy talk. We'll let them talk and we don't promote them, we keep it on there. So this is the agreement we talked about that would be coming. We talked about the details last.
The other good news is the community center, as we know it, and as we used to know it, it will become a profit center at this point in time. And we'll rent that thing out like we always did before. We have a lot of folks that like to not maybe rent the civic center, but they would rent a smaller facility. And they really like that little facility. So it's gonna be good. Right in the middle of the park, right there. Real nice building. So anyway, it'll become a profit revenue stream.
We hope it'll be a profit. We just
Well,
want to go in the red.
We hope.
It'll be on the revenue stream.
We're gonna promote it as such, put it that way. That'll help the budget, right? Okay. All right. I hear a motion.
I move we execute this agreement.
Yeah. Second, motion has been made and seconded. All in favor, please raise your right hand. All opposed, like sign. Item number 15 stands approved. Okay. Item number 16. Neil, you can make your way on. Consideration and possible action upon awarding the bid on phase 3 of the street bond project. Thank you, Neil.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor, Council. Last Thursday, bids were received for the third and final phase of the Master Street Improvements Program. There were 6 bidders as a part of this bid opening. The low bidder was Rayford Truck and Tractor with a bid of $1,490,812.58. Rayford Truck and Tractor also was the low bidder on the previous 2 phases. So it's the same contractor that's been able to do the work and do it at a price that point we think is very fair, and it's a good price that you're getting. Based on that information, we would make a recommendation that we award the project to the low bidder, Rayford Truck and Tractor. Be happy to answer any questions that you have.
I did not get a copy of that with my package. Is that available?
Yes, sir.
Am I the only one that did?
No. I think that it was not attached like we thought it was originally, and then the actual full bid sheet there in your supporting documents. So
this is a total of 26 streets. We had an alternate bid item that we wanted to put in the project, but after discussing this with staff, the additive alternate bid did not impact a public street. It was strictly just some drainage work.
And so therefore, we opted to not include that as a part of this award. This is a project that at some time in the near future, if the city thinks this is a problem worthy of tackling, that city staff would probably do this work themselves. So that's why we're only recommending the base bid price for this project.
What about the short street between the two dealerships, car dealerships that we had?
Billy Bob?
Yes.
I think there was one, yeah.
It was not ready, you know, our project was already out and fixed to receive bids when we found out that, you know, there was a street that they wanted to add to this. This is certainly something that could be change ordered into the project after awarded tonight. But it was not included in this bid packet because it wasn't ready at the time. We didn't know this was something they wanted to add to the street program.
Yeah, we came in with that a little bit late. We were wondering if they had it.
Did you ever get a price on what it would cost to do that little street?
Yes, sir, we gave you a
Yeah.
budget estimate on
I
that.
think it's roughly around 38,000, something like that.
Now we'll be able to apply, instead of the estimated units, we'll be able to apply the actual units. It's the same type of work. So whatever their bid item is, we'll be able to apply that number to whatever the quantities are. So I would estimate that that would come down based off of what I estimated for you, because we try to estimate it medium range. I don't want to be too high. I don't want to be the low bidder. So that would be something that could be easily added to this project if you choose to do so. And I believe there's a water line that's probably going to have to be replaced as a part of all that work too. So
I think that's Michael's district, isn't it?
That's
It could be fixed sooner rather than later.
Yeah, we've got some water leaks there. It's old galvanized pipe that we're having issues with currently. I think we've had 2 different leaks in the last couple of weeks there. And so.
and it is a street that we use to get to our water truck. So
Right,
it
exactly.
needs to be something that needs to be taken care of.
So we'll replace that. We'll get in there and replace that water line under there when we do this all at the same time, for sure.
I mean, it looks just a hair under $20 a foot, based on these figures. What's the length of that street?
Short.
Less than 2,000 feet.
It may be, this may be 300 feet.
Oh, yeah, so it's not that short.
It's short. I thought it stretched back behind dealerships.
Maybe 300-400 feet.
Yeah, maybe 500, but.
Any more questions for Neil? Okay, do I hear a motion to approve?
I make a motion, we approve.
Second.
Motion has been made, second. All in favor, please raise your right hand. All opposed, like sign.
Thank you.
Item number 16. Thank you, Neil. Yes, sir. Appreciate it. Item number 17, departmental reports at this time. You all have all of the copies of the departmental reports. I guess if you have any questions, you can review those reports again. If not,
Mayor, I have something fun.
yes.
So October is coming up, which means we've got a couple of events that we typically have that you guys know about, Paint the Town Pink and Public Safety Fun Night. This year, our Paint the Town Pink is partnering with local restaurants to, they'll donate a portion of their proceeds for us. That week in October is gonna be the 12th through the 16th. And so during that week at these local participating restaurants, you can go in, dine in, and they're gonna donate a portion of proceeds back to the Henderson Fire Department Cancer Fund. A couple of fun things this year that we're doing for that event. We are rolling out limited edition 2020 t-shirts that will have both fire and police patches on them, as well as face masks that also have fire and police patches on them as well, promoting the unity of those two departments that work closely together. So that's our Paint the Town Pink. And then we have Public Safety Fun Night, which this year is also going to look different for us. We'll be utilizing Lake Forest Parkway, and out at the Civic Center. And so we'll be doing a, Halloween trunk or treat drive-through, one way only. And so all of the local, law enforcement agencies that have participated in the past have committed to participating to this one as well. And so we'll have a vehicle set up and stationed throughout that pathway, starting right past Sand all the way back out to 64, where vehicles can come through, drive through with their kids, no getting out. And so the representatives of those agencies will be handing out candy as they come through, just a constant flow of traffic. That'll be on Halloween, 2-hour increment. So just wanted you guys to be aware of what's going on.
On that same day, downtown businesses are gonna do theirs, I believe, from 1 to 3.
1 to 3, yeah.
Yeah, on that day.
And then First Baptist Church reached out to us to find out what we were doing so they could kind of plan something somewhat similar on their end, as well as Calvary Baptist Church. They really liked that drive-through trunk or treat idea. The Methodist Church was still deciding what they wanted to do.
I
when
think
they
they're
talked.
also contributing.
And then the police department was gracious enough to allow us to use their lobby so that we could collect candy donations from the community as they wanted to participate with that. And so far we've received some donations.
I don't know what the trick or treat is gonna look, what's it gonna look like, Mr. Ballard, in our neighborhood? You get projections?
I don't think it'll be as crowded.
Yeah.
But
You might be surprised.
Yeah.
Just drive through.
You can do the drive-through thing?
only like 50,000 instead of
Right,
75,000.
that's right. You know, we could set up a little toll booth.
Yeah.
We just charge 50 cents per car.
Maybe we need to put our little,
We could make some
Put a
money.
traffic counter.
yeah.
Yeah, the traffic count.
Get accurate count
There you
of cars.
There you go. We could make a little money.
Might be able to do that.
Not a bad idea. Okay. We'll have no departmental reports, other than what you got in your packet, because you've got all the information already. Cheryl, it's 7:11. We're going to move into executive session at this time to consult with the city attorney discussing litigations on real property located on West Fort Isle and Henderson Sports Complex in accordance with Burns, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551, 071, and 072. Okay. Here we go. Okay, council will reconvene back in open session at 8:02 p.m. And one item here that Mr. Searcy will bring to us here.
Make a motion that we allow the city manager to negotiate or enter into negotiations concerning the right of way and any potential issue or any potential,
Fort Isle.
Frisco
and Elm Street. Frisco and Elm Street. Okay. All right. Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve that?
Yep.
Got a motion and a second. All right, all in favor, please raise your right hand. All opposed, like sign. Okay, that motion stands approved. Thank you, Michael. Item number 20 on the agenda is time to adjourn. At 8:03. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
y'all don't rush along now.
Yeah, so we got a motion and a second. All in favor, please. Thank you very much. We stand adjourned. 8:03.